Tonight I'm going to be making a hamburger potato dish on the stove. It looks pretty simple to make. You just need like 8 or 9 yellow potatoes, and I will start by just cutting those up into slices, and some of them have a couple bad spots that I'll cut off too. 1 pound of ground beef, about 1.5 to 2 cups of these cheeses mixed, Monterey Jack and sharp cheddar. We got some black pepper, probably like a teaspoon or 2 of minced garlic, some garlic salt, and then I'll cut up some chives to garnish it with. Also, I have about half of a small onion already chopped up that I'm going to be using too, but first I'm just going to cut up the potatoes and then get the meat and the potatoes cooking on the stove. As far as slicing them, I'm just going to slice them in really thin slices so that they cook up good. So first I'm just going to brown up my meat, and then I've got a heaping teaspoon of the minced garlic, and I'm going to put the lid on top of it and just let that brown up first. So I'm just going to let that cook up and then break it up periodically with this, whatever you want to call it, meat breaker upper thing. Now that the meat is done, I'm just going to reduce the heat a little bit. You don't actually want to drain this because it's going to cook in with the potatoes and onions and everything. So I'm just going to add in all of the potatoes, all of the onion. Then I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in some garlic salt. And then I decided to use my peppercorn grinder instead of just the regular black pepper. But then I'll just put the lid back on and cook it for additional 15 minutes. And then once it's been 15 minutes, I'll stir it around again, put the lid back on, and cook it for 15 more. So while that's cooking, I'm just going to go ahead and cut up my chives just to have those ready, just into little small pieces to top it with. Okay, since my potatoes are fork tender now, it's not even been that full second half of the 15 minutes, but your goal is to get fork tender ones. And I mean, if you want them a little more crispy, I guess you can cook it longer, but we're hungry, so I'm just gonna hurry this up a little bit. And I'm just gonna go ahead and sprinkle in my cheese, the Monterey Jack and the cheddar, and then put the lid on for another 5 minutes. Turn the heat off too, about forgot. And I'll just put the lid back on for another 5 minutes and let that melt down, and then we'll eat. Here is in all of its cheesy yumminess. It looks amazing. I can't wait to try it. Smells so good too. I wish you guys could smell it right now because it smells so good. And we're just having it with some green beans. And I did put some chives on mine. I don't know if Travis or the boys will actually want that, but I did put some on mine because I like chives. But that's what's for supper tonight. Tonight for supper, we're keeping it pretty simple, and I'll be making some sweet potato fries, and I'll show you how I use that. I use some garlic powder, olive oil, onion powder, and some sea salt. And then I'll just cook the broccoli and cheese in the microwave. Some of these sausage balls, these taste so good. They're pretty much like homemade in my opinion, that you get at Walmart in the freezer section. And I'll just cook those in the oven at the same time as the sweet potatoes because they cook on the same temp. And then make some baked beans out of these pork and beans. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven to 400 and then start cutting up the sweet potatoes, and then I'll mix them in a bowl with the seasonings and the olive oil. I'm just going to cut the sweet potatoes into little fry-sized bites. Okay, so for the seasoning mix, you just want to do about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just eyeballing it. Don't really know. And then I'll just sprinkle in a good amount of garlic powder and onion powder and just a little bit of the sea salt because I actually like to just sprinkle it on it after it's in the pan. So I'm not going to do too much of that. That was garlic powder. Mix that together. Then just toss them all. You can do whatever kind of seasonings you like. I used to always just make them with just the olive oil and sea salt on them, and they're really good that way too. So just do whatever kind of seasonings you like. This is a pretty cheap side, I think, because I literally just used 2 sweet potatoes and it made this many fries, so that's quite a bit. Then just pour them out on the sheet pan, cook them for about 15 minutes, then flip and cook for 10 to 15 more, just depending on how you like them to be done. And I'm gonna wait to put the sausage balls in until I flip the sweet potato fries. That way, you know, they get done at the same time. But I'll go ahead and get started on my baked beans. I'm just gonna toss these around because I'm not gonna try to turn every single one of them over. So I'll just toss them around and stick them back in for about another 15 minutes because they're still pretty soft. So here it is plated, and the sweet potato fries did take extra time to get done, and they're still a little bit soft. I cooked them like 35 to 40 minutes, I think, but they still probably could have used a little bit longer just to be extra crispy. I bet these would be really good in an air fryer. If anybody's ever made those in an air fryer, let me know. I'm really contemplating getting one because I've seen some people post some really yummy recipes in the air fryer, and I've been wanting to try it out. If you guys have an air fryer, let me know what you guys think of it in the comments down below because I'm on the verge of getting one. I'm really wanting one to try out. Tonight we're going to be making something that my brother has made for us several times, chicken schnitzel. So I've got 3 and 2, I just separated these out, chicken breasts that I had in the freezer. It's actually 1.5 and 1. I just cut them in half before I freeze them to make them thinner. And I'll just use the meat tenderizer to flatten those down a little bit. But for the coating on it, we've got some flour, some panko breadcrumbs, 3 eggs for the egg wash, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, some Italian seasoning, and some salt and pepper. And then we're also going to do some of the bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers. So I've got about 6 jalapenos here, and then a block of cream cheese and our bacon. First, I'm just going to cut all of the jalapenos in half and then take all the seeds out before putting the cream cheese in. Now Travis is just going to put 1 piece of bacon around each one of the jalapeno halves. And then we've already got the oven preheated to 400, and we're just going to cook them as long as they take. We're not really sure how long they'll take, but I'll let you guys know.
Wrap it. There you go.
We've got helpers in the kitchen tonight.
All the way around. Pull it tight. There you go. Good job.
For the chicken schnitzel, the first thing we're gonna do is just take the meat tenderizer and pound it until it's like really flat and thin. And Grant's gonna do it first, right? So we've got 3 different plates. Well, one of them's a pie pan. But we're gonna put flour in the first one because that's the first thing you coat it with, and then egg in this one, and then we'll do a breadcrumb mixture in the third one, and I'll show you guys what all we put in that. We're gonna start with 1 cup of breadcrumbs, half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then some salt and pepper to taste. We just mixed up the breadcrumb mixture and then poured it on a plate to make it easier to dip it all in. But we're going to dip it in flour, egg, and then the mixture. We've had some olive oil heating up on the stove on medium heat, and Travis is going to go ahead and drop in the chicken. We like to top ours with some marinara sauce and some mozzarella. It just adds extra goodness to it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So here it is. It looks so good. I'm excited to eat. We've still got a couple on the oven that you can hear sizzling. But I'm sure there's plenty of different kinds of recipes for chicken schnitzel, but this is just how my brother's always made it, and he gave us his recipe that he always did, and I absolutely loved it. So yay, I'm excited to try it. But this is what's for supper tonight.